There are going to be a lot of big matchups in the Rose Bowl. I want to start with maybe the highest level individual unit in the game, Jay. That's Ohio State's wide receiving core. I think second place, you'd probably have Oregon's offensive or defensive line. The offensive line, of course, a finalist for the Joe Moore Award. The defensive line has been really good, but that trio of wide receivers, it's got my attention. I talked yesterday on Locked On Ducks about how my top concern for Oregon, not just defensively, but overall in the game, is how the safeties defend in coverage. They haven't been super rangy guys on the back end. They haven't been phenomenal covering in man-to-man situations down the field. If I'm Ryan Day and Chip Kelly, I look at that on film and say we have to find a way to get Kobe Savage or Tysheem Johnson covering any one of the three receivers, Carnell Tate, Emeka Ibuka, or Jeremiah Smith. And I felt like in the first matchup, they weren't able to accomplish that a whole lot. It felt like every time those receivers were making a play, and now it doesn't always matter who's covering those guys, of course, but felt like when they were making plays, it was on one of Oregon's top three cover guys. What do you think Chip Kelly's going to dial up with that chess match?
A lot of movement pre-snap to try to help Will Howard decipher what's going to happen post-snap. But great defenses will do some things where pre-snap, you won't be able to see the look you're going to get post-snap. So I do think Will Howard's going to have to utilize some motion behind him to figure out what the defense is going to do, but also realize that look you're going to get as soon as the ball is snapped, it might be different than the look before the snap of the ball. I say all that to say, because I think Chip Kelly is going to have some things that's going to work for him, but you got to be able to run the ball. And I know one thing in this game when it comes to an offensive line at Ohio State is using three offensive guards, and one guard's going to be playing both left and right side. That could impact how well you run the ball. One of the easiest ways to help the guys on the outside get the ball is to run it. But that's one caution I have. One of my concerns is I don't know how well Ohio State will be able to run the ball. Because I think if they run the ball well, Jeremiah Smith does whatever he wants to do. Carnell Tate and Emeka Ibuka, they do whatever they want to do. But if the Buckeyes can't run the ball, that drastically negatively impacts how the guys on the outside are going to be able to get the ball. Because in games like this, you have to be able to run the ball and play good defense. It's just kind of elementary. And I know the focus is Jeremiah Smith, and I believe Ohio State has to get the ball to Jeremiah Smith no matter what. But if you're just throwing the ball to him and not running the ball, I think Oregon's defense is smart enough and those coaches are good enough to make the necessary adjustments to try to slow that thing down. I don't know if Ohio State's going to be able to run the ball well enough to keep the ball going in the air to Jeremiah Smith, where it's an easy game of pitch and catch between Will Howard and number 4.
We'll see how flag happy the officiating crew is with regards to Jeremiah Smith.
Do we know what conference is officiating this game?
I actually have not heard. I usually don't find that out until the television crew tells us. I would imagine it'll be ACC, Big 12, or SEC. That's standard operating procedure. Right. You don't typically have a G5 conference out there. You usually have one of the Big 4 that's not a fit. But of course, this is a classic Big 10 matchup, if you will. So I mean, maybe they send a Big 10 crew out there. I don't know. That would seem.
Any Pac-12 officiating crew still active that they could call this game?
Yeah. Right man, you just brought up a house of horrors for Oregon fans. But the idea of putting a Pac-12 crew on this game, oh no. As Tom Haverford from Parks and Rec would say, that is an oh no. A big oh no. The next matchup that pops in my head, Jay, that defines this game is the one that surprised me the most when Ohio State throttled Tennessee. The offensive line against the front four. Against Tennessee, they were really good. In the first matchup, I'm curious your assessment. I'd say Ohio State's offensive line played well, but I certainly felt like Oregon's defensive front accomplished a lot more than Ohio State's defensive front did in that game. But you lose Seth McLaughlin, which for Oregon fans is the equivalent of losing Jackson Powers Johnson from last year's team. He won the Remington Award this year for the nation's top center. You lose him, and then to have that performance against a Tennessee front four that I know there are plenty of people say, well, Tennessee wasn't that good. Tennessee's offense was never that great. Their defense, however, has been great all year, and Ohio State torched them because they kept Will Howard upright. That, to me, is one of the reasons that my confidence in Oregon's ability to win this game came down at least a hair, because I watched Ohio State's reshuffled offensive line play against James Pearson Company and go,
Yeah.
oh boy.
Yeah.
Now Jordan Burch is going to play in this game. He didn't play in the first matchup, but that offensive line played really well against the Vols.
They did play very, very well. This is actually one of those matchups where, with as well as Ohio State's offensive line played against Tennessee, I think they can have some success against Oregon's defensive line. The issue for me comes in with the tackles on Ohio State. How well do they hold up with just simply one guy, Jordan Burch? Didn't play in the first game. I know there's other guys on the D line for Oregon that you have to account for, but what does Jordan Burch do? If he is neutralized, Ohio State might be able to have some success. If he is a massive factor, or just a factor at all, that's a problem. Because Josh Fryer and Donovan Jackson, they have both showed they can hold up against some of the best in the country. But also, we all remember what Abdul Carter did against Donovan Jackson, I believe, twice in that game. It happens. It's also Donovan Jackson's first time playing left tackle. He's going to get beat. Josh Fryer's played a whole lot better at right tackle. However, he does struggle at times if he gets beat at the line of scrimmage. Sometimes he can't recover, and he's not quick enough. He's not strong enough to recover at the rate you want him to. Next thing you know, the guy that's coming at him is now in the backfield in the quarterback's face. I want to know what Jordan Burch does. What is their plan to neutralize him? I know what Mateo did the last game. I know what Harmon did the last game. They did a whole lot of massive things for Oregon's defense. I'm looking at the guy, Jordan Burch. What does he do? I think he'll be a problem, just being honest with you. And I think some of my answers already, Spencer, have kind of showed you like where my thoughts are with this game. I think he'll be a problem because it's not like you can just focus on one guy or focus on two guys. Oregon has guys at every level that you have to worry about. And that could be bad news for an offensive line at Ohio State that's been able to build some chemistry, but hasn't faced anything like this together.
Yeah, one of the reasons that going into the first matchup, I was curious to see how Oregon's defense would fare was, wow, no Jordan Burch. And Oregon made it 2 for 2 on losing a premier edge rusher against Ohio State and finding a way to win the game. So what sort of impact can he have? There have been games where Jordan Burch doesn't really make his presence felt. And then there are games where he thwarts drives on his own or creates a touchdown like he did against Maryland, coming off the edge and stripping Billy Edwards Jr. and Brandon Johnson took it to the house. Like, there is a lot of ebb and flow there, but certainly I'd obviously rather have him than not, and not say, well, they beat him the first time without him. Like, you just rather have that sort of guy. You want to have playmakers available out there, but I want to talk about special teams in this game.
Why? No! I hate special teams.
That's my point.
Who to return the kickoff. What are we doing here? I don't care if it's... No! Spencer! My wife and my son are gone right now, so I can get as all as I want to. What are we doing? We just end the show right now? Actually, I can't click anything.
No, you can't. I'm running the show here. So that's why I wanted to bring it up, because Oregon misses a PAT, high snap, Holder can't get it down. Ohio State almost returns that for 2 points, by the way. Kenyon Sadiq doesn't track him down, and suddenly Oregon has to go for it on 4th and goal at the end of the game, because they would have been down by they would have been down by 4 points at the end. And then they try to go for 2 to get it back, and they don't get there. And that changes the dynamic of that final drive completely. And one of those things that when you've got two high-level rosters, evenly matched teams, yeah, your star players got to play well, execute in big spots, third down, all that sort of stuff. Special teams is in there for me, Jay, and I don't think there's necessarily a massive advantage to be gained unless a kick or punt returner is able to break one loose. But I think for both teams in this game, when you have a team as good as the other that you're going up against, you have to avoid the big mistake on special teams that gives them a momentum shifter.
You're exactly right. Avoiding that big mistake is going to be huge. I reacted in the way that I did when Spencer brought up special teams. It's because Ohio State had a kicking competition the week they were playing Tennessee. And they were going to decide that thing. I think it was the Wednesday practice. They were going to decide who was going to kick on Saturday night. That's not a good look at all for Ryan Day, for the other coaches there, that you're Ohio State and you can't figure out the kicking game. Your punter's not doing the good either. So we're talking about a team that's almost elite at every other position. I mean, has elite guys almost everywhere, but can't figure out kicking. If the game comes down to kicking, either a punt to flip the field or a kick that's 35 or further, makes me nervous. And I'm going to lie to you, because Ohio State is in a situation right now where they can't figure out that part of special teams. Also, in the return game, Brandon Ennis should return kickoffs and punts. That's an easy thing. He's not a top of the receiver in the room, so you're not worried about, well, an injury, he may get hurt. No, you don't even use him as much as you need to. Let Brandon Ennis return punts and kickoffs. They tried Travion Henderson back there returning kickoffs. Caleb Downs, they returned a punt return, which I think would be great if they kept it back there, but they try to keep rotating guys. They can't settle on any one guy to return a kickoff or a punt. They can't get the kicking game right. And if it comes down to that, it's not a good look for Ohio State. If it's a kicking thing, I trust returners if they put the right guy out there. That's an if, because sometimes these coaches don't put the right guy out there.